So the Europeans are in this terrible situation where they have to basically follow the dictates of the United States to keep the Americans in Europe. There's no good solution. I do not believe it's in Europe's interest to break away from the United States. I believe that the European countries have a deep-seated interest in keeping the American security umbrella over their heads. But at the same time, I think the Europeans should go to greater lengths to push back when the Americans have what I would call strategically foolish ideas. I think it would have made a lot of sense if the French and the Germans and other European countries had pushed back on NATO expansion and had gone to greater lengths to get the Americans to settle the Ukraine war much earlier. After it started. But the Europeans didn't push back. The Europeans followed the Americans. They followed the Pied Piper. And the end result is that the Russians are going to win in Ukraine, and this is going to have really negative consequences for NATO and for Europe more generally. The fact is that NATO has put its reputation on the line. And if the Russians win and Ukraine loses, this is going to be a devastating defeat for NATO. And it's going to weaken the alliance. And you want to remember, as we've talked about a little bit earlier, there are important disputes and fracture lines inside of Europe. The French and the Germans, for example, are very angry with each other today because of Macron's talk about putting French troops in Ukraine. The Germans were outraged by his pronouncement. And you have all sorts of cleavages in Europe. Hungary is another example. Viktor Orban talks in ways that make many other European countries very angry. He, of course, is angry at those countries. So there are all these cleavages in Europe that are right below the surface. And if NATO were to suffer a humiliating defeat in Ukraine, these cleavages would be exacerbated. And furthermore, Europeans would begin to question the transatlantic relationship. They'd be questioning America's judgment, America's ability to protect them more and more. And this would not be a good thing.